Cubs made their first free agent signing Monday morning, and it's not that exciting.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for being. Oh my gosh, I am too far down my outline. Excuse me. I'm so excited for this episode. And quite frankly, I don't even need the outline for this part of the show anymore. In fact, the other day, Sam, I felt like I was on a roll before I even opened my doc. But you are Locked On Cubs.
Yep.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I am Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Matthew Boyd. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Today's episode is presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And the wee hours of Monday morning, the Cubs did sign lefty starting pitcher Matthew Boyd to a 2-year, $29 million deal. We're going to expand on Boyd himself and what he is capable of, where he fits in the rotation, where he fits in on the team, things like that. We're actually going to do that later. Right now, I want to move the ball down the field after Sam did a nice reaction episode earlier in the day. I think there's two options after this move. This is just pitching I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. They either, because I don't know what their goals are. Sorry. Okay.
There's no need to apologize.
Add a top of the rotation starter that pencils in between Steele and Imanaga, because that's what I thought they were going to try to do.
Mm-hmm.
So either they're going to do that, which they didn't do yet, or they're going to go back to front. And Jed Hoyer's going to take a major departure from what he's done in his run out of the bullpen. And he's going to not only add 2 or 3 relievers, but one of them is going to be a clear closer that costs some good amount of cash.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I can think of right now with this Boyd move. And you're probably asking, Sam and everybody else, well, why can't they do both? Why can't they get a closer and a top of the rotation starter? Well, after they chose to sign Matthew Boyd, money becomes more of a factor.
Well, because they let it.
They're $39 million to the first luxury tax threshold, folks. The Cubs are not going to pay the repeater tax. They went $800,000, $900,000 over last year. We could get into all of that and why that was a mistake. Why didn't they go more over the tax? But they're not going to pay the repeater penalty. And I think they might even want to start the year. You know, I keep citing to that first line. It's really probably 10 M's under that line,
right,
to leave space for in-season moves. So if that's the case, then they only have 29 M's to that line. I don't know what their plan is in terms of targeting pitching, because then you have the offensive side of it as well. Do they just target a reliever? Do they keep Matt Tice as the backup catcher? Do they just go all internal offensively? No. I'm left with a lot more questions than I realized, and it's not even the winter meetings.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from Boyd specifically till later on. In terms of this, so I want to read what you sent me first, because I think it sums it up perfectly. You do a really nice job over these messages, just summarizing things quickly with words. Quote, Matt Cozy, hard to say when we don't know what the goals are. Seems like a good signing if they were trying to improve the back end of the rotation, but lots of money for a 4 or 5 starter. That's pretty much sums it up. And I would say I would substitute instead of goals, but hey, what part of the offseason is this? Is this the major free agent starter and that's it? Now we're trading a guy? Are we going to trade for a better starter? Whatever. But here's the real point before we break down Boyd specifically. Here's the real thing, what this acquisition told us, right? Couple of things, Matt. Number one, when you're a fan and you react, your reactions are based off of expectations. And one of the reasons why I think I was probably initially, I think in a very rare situation, more positive about this deal is I have no expectations for this offseason. The second they tapped out on Juan Soto before the sweepstakes even had begun, that let me know that this is going to be one of those type of things. And so I looked at it differently. But then here's the other part of it, and this is the key. Matt, if the Milwaukee Brewers signed Matthew Boyd this morning, what would we be talking about on the show? Watch out for Matthew Boyd, diamond in the rough. If the Brewers like him, he's really good. Who knows? He could just skyrocket because they have a track record getting these things right. We don't. The Cubs don't, right? And so with Jed, you can't give him the benefit of the doubt until you see it on the field because this is the same guy that signed Drew Smiley. This is the same guy that signed Trey Mancini. So when you make these moves, everyone, there's kind of like this pessimistic feel because Jed's earned that with a lot of it. But he's also signed Shota Imanaga, which now looks like, oh, that was a can't-miss thing, but there are a lot of questions surrounding him. So we'll have to let it play out. But I think you said it best. This move is hard to evaluate and make a concrete evaluation until we see what else they do. If this is a feature move, if this is their, hey, this was our free agent starter, we're just gonna trade for some starter depth, then it's not enough because this is a lot of money, as we'll talk about, for a guy that has a lot of implied risk. But like you said, we're still a week before the winter meetings. There is some things there. What are the goals? What are the pitching plans? Hopefully the trade that we feel like they're inevitably going to make is for more of a top end guy, or they spend money on rotations. But this move did not surprise me.
As we're going to talk about even later in the show, they have and I guess you're right about expectations because they have all these caveats, all these conditions that put them in the so-called middle tier before the offseason really even kicked off. That's what I was reflecting on Monday during the day. So, okay, they're out on Burns, Fried, and Snell. Out.
Yep.
Well, then you get to the next tier, and there's all these caveats. Oh, well, they can't have a qualifying offer attached to them. Okay, Severino out, Minaya out, Pivetta out. So then you get to Jack Flaherty. Well, he's probably going to get 9 figures out. Then you get to Nathan Eovaldi. Well, 10 teams like him out. So then you get to Walker Buehler. He was horrible last year. You get to Shane Bieber. He's not going to be ready till June. The next name is Matthew Boyd. But the problem is, we were all under the impression that they were getting someone to pencil in the 2 or 3 lane. And Matthew Boyd is not that. He is a number 4 or a number 5. That's what he is. And if they were trying to improve that spot, they do that and then some with this signing. Now, it's not great that it cost as much as it did, which we'll add on to later.
Yeah.
But if that's what they were trying to improve, then that's a so-called good signing, right? Because I think Hendricks got paid more than this last year.
Hendricks made $16 million last year. I believe with the way it's structured, I believe that Boyd's actually only getting 7 next year and then like 16 the year after. I believe that's what.
Right. But I think the luxury tax hit is still 14 and a half. Let me double check. But yes, okay. I saw that as well.
Because I thought maybe they gave him a signing bonus so it doesn't hit on the tax, but I don't know how that.
But what are the Cubs? Are they trying to pencil someone in between Steele and Imanaga? Like, what are your thoughts on Jack Flaherty?
I kind of mentally eliminated him today.
You did?
Yeah, because of this. I've always felt that they were going to go get one free agent and then trade for another. I think I'm just now of the mindset that the trade now has to be the guy that they pencil in between those two guys. But I
Right.
will say, and we'll talk about it in a second, I'm a little higher on Boyd's ceiling than you are.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
but I think 4.5. I think he's a 4.5 floor with some ceiling.
Yeah.
But as you said, it's like it's a lot of money for a guy that could be good. You know what I mean? Like that's why I was sitting this morning just real quick, and I didn't find out about this because I was doing some work stuff. I didn't find out about this till like 9. And I was sitting there and I'm like, I try and encompass everything. I wait to make sure. Once I saw Rosenthal tweeted it, I'm like, okay. And I'm like, do I want to do this? Do I want to go do an instant reaction or not?
Yeah, I want to talk about that later, or we could do it now.
And my deal breaker was the money. They gave him $29 million over 2 years. That's Matt. That's almost a third of the free agency money that they had this year. So I was like, hey, I have to do this because this could be the biggest free agent move they make.
This could be it.
I just saw a tweet. I think it was from Morosi or somebody that Higashioka and the Rangers are close.
Yeah, that did just break. Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, if I don't do this now, we might not have a lot of opportunities in free agency.
Well, let's go over that because, let's do that this early. So let's do it right now. So
Sure.
I don't like that my first reaction was a shrug at 7 a.m.
No, but you're right.
And my gut instinct was, well, we don't even need to do an instant reaction episode.
I think I had the exact.
And now I'm fearful that these are the moves the Cubs are lining up.
I had the exact same reaction. And then it wasn't until I got the money confirmed where I just said, if they're going to give, and this was before I knew the whole structure of the deal, I said, if they're giving this guy $14.5 million, I got to go.
We're doing an emergency episode for Matt Boyd? What is happening?
I don't like to say
this is supposed to be a crown jewel franchise.
I don't like to say.
What do we do next week?
Not emergency.
When the Cubs sign Gary Sanchez, are you going to do an instant reaction?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I don't know what my threshold was. I just felt financially that type of money, I needed to come out and say something.
The other option to upgrade in the starting rotation is via trade.
I'm getting the vibe that you didn't want me to do that.
But here's the thing about the trade, Sam. People keep mentioning Seattle.
Is there another caveat here?
Do they want to trade their 4 young guys? No, they want to trade Luis Castillo.
No, we can't take on that type of money.
That's not an option. The other dude that's available is Garrett Crochet. That's not happening, right?
I would think that the Cubs wouldn't want to take that large of a risk on his arm, but who knows? How about Roki?
Well, right, but I think all of this is independent of him just because of his cost.
Right, because you could just fit him
None
in
of
anywhere.
this should be impacted.
No, you can get him anywhere.
Suzuki.
The Cubs could sign
none of it.
The guys could start.
Should have zero impact, zero.
The Cubs could sign 4 more starters and still slot him right in for his cost,
exactly.
his value.
Exactly.
All right, you're fired up.
Here's the other option.
You're right. It's ridiculous that we had to do that.
It's ridiculous.
But I had to.
Right, and that's Jed Hoyer's problem.
And Tom.
Here's the other option.
And what does Crane Kenny do?
Do they go all in on the bullpen? John Morosi reported Monday.
What does that mean, go all in?
He's hearing the Cubs are one of the most active teams in the industry on bullpen arms. Well, all in to me means, let me bring up the best names available. Tanner Scott, Jeff Hoffman, and Clay Holmes, who might actually not even be relievers next year, and Carlos Estevez, next tier, Trinan, Yates, and Jansen. Do they load up on the bullpen? It would be a major departure for Hoyer, but Tanner Scott, Sam.
Isn't he projected to get like $15 million a year?
15 a year, but he's left-handed. They haven't had a good lefty in 10, 20, 30 years.
Well, besides Chapman.
He would be the clear closer. And then everyone else goes back a rung on the depth chart. Maybe they should use the 15 M's out of the next, so if they spend the next half of their money, figure they end up 10 M's short of the line. Maybe they get Tanner Scott. They call it an offseason. No catcher, no bench.
Well, then
player.
I'm glad we did a show then.
Well, Tanner Scott is worthy of an emergency show.
No, look,
But
I've never
everybody
seen,
goes back a rung that if you sign someone like him.
I've never seen Jed spend big dollars like
He's
that
the closer.
for a reliever, so I'll believe it when I see it. I think that they're more focused on depth pieces for the bullpen.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't like Jack Flaherty as much.
No, I do. I don't dislike him.
Oh.
It's not that I don't like him. I'm saying what I think the Cubs are thinking. I want all the guys. Bring me anybody. This team needs a lot of help.
So what do you mean by depth pieces? Is that like Matt Moore and Andrew Kittredge?
Yeah.
Those are all free agents.
Yeah, I just don't see. So they already traded for Eli Morgan.
Yes, they did. He's a middle reliever.
Yeah, I think they'll add like 2 relief pieces. And I think, I would be really pleasantly surprised if one of them was one of the first 2 or 3 names that you mentioned, because, we've talked about this. Jed just doesn't.
I'm thinking they should do that.
All right.
I don't know if it's smart, though.
Well, I don't know if any of this is smart. I'm about to tell you why I like Matthew Boyd in this next segment.
Because Tanner Scott's in the 9th. Okay, everyone goes back a rung. Porter Hodge, setup man.
Yeah, I just have concerns
Morgan,
about
Miller, Pearson.
I just have concerns with relievers and their volatility.
Right,
like, I wouldn't be surprised if Tanner Scott forgot how to throw a strike in April. Camilo Doval got DFA. David Bednar was one of the worst relievers. We wanted him last year at this time. I just get concerned with those guys. But at some point, there's cons to everything. You got to go out and take a risk. I just don't think this organization really works that way. So let's talk about Boyd.
Well, maybe they make a trade with one of the teams that's having TV trouble. Do they get Durant or Jax from the Twins?
Can we make a trade with ourselves?
No.
Because there's got to be some sort of TV trouble on our end.
Well, I'd have to look into that. I know they're not getting as much money from Marquee.
We didn't go after a generational free agent who might end up with the Red Sox, who were in a worse position than we were in going into the year. So
let's find out more about Matthew Boyd next. Hey, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Whether it's a Cubs game, a comedy show, or a concert, I love going to live events. And now Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets with clear last-minute deals, all in prices used from your seat and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The experience of searching for and then buying tickets on Game Time is simple. Plus, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it?
It's game time.
On Monday, the Cubs signed Matthew Boyd, 2 years, $29 million, first reported by John Heyman in the wee hours of the morning. Boyd made 8 starts for the Guardians last year, 2.72 ERA with 46 strikeouts and 13 walks in 40 innings. That's after returning from an injury. He also had a 0.75 ERA in 12 innings in the playoffs. Fastball slider change, Sam. Fastball in the low 90s, as you said earlier. Durability, big question mark. What I would call attendance issues. Career high 32 starts way back in 2019. Go ahead.
Pros. The Cubs are folks. The pitching landscape has changed. If you look at the full body of work for Matthew Boyd, you're going to say to yourself, what are the Cubs doing? But things change yearly. Guys, add more to their, in Boyd's case, throw a changeup more, slider less, reinvent yourself, different arm angles. Sean Manaea last year, and clearly whatever he did to reinvent himself in the 2024 season, the Cubs feel is a sustainable product and something that, they think is real and that he could be a guy. He started postseason games last year. He was really, really good. The 46 strikeouts and 39 innings are really, really good. The problem is that since 2020, the most innings he's thrown in a season is 78. That's not going to cut it.
Wow.
And there isn't a very big sample size here. So you just gave $29 million to a guy that you're basically gave him $29 million because you like what you saw over a 39 and 2/3 inning sample in the regular season, and I think 11 and a third in the postseason. But this is what it's like now. They got all these guys, the Zombro hire, the pitching gurus, these smart guys probably said, hey, that's a guy to target. See what he's doing there. It's sustainable, and he's going to be really good. In a vacuum, as I used in the reaction video this morning, I'm cautiously intrigued in a vacuum. But when you consider everything and all the messaging that we're getting from the Cubs, of course it's a shoulder shrug. Of course it's an eye roller. But I do think if healthy, Matthew Boyd can really help the Chicago Cubs. He's better than 2024 Kyle Hendricks, and he's better than Javier Assad. That's the starting point, and hopefully he adds to their ceiling, and it's a high-risk, high-reward situation for this team.
Yeah, I think the looming question, even right now, but definitely if he doesn't pitch well, and definitely if he's just not around, is why didn't they acquire more of a sure thing? So again, I know I'm just answering my own critiques, but I think he is a sure thing for the spot in the rotation he should be in. But is he going to be in that spot?
Yep.
Is it going to be Steele, fill in the blank, Imanaga, Tyone, Boyd? I don't have a crystal ball. So this is the move that we're analyzing right now. Again, I don't think this impacts Zaki's market at all. I would love him on the Cubs.
If it does, then we got real.
It shouldn't.
He's not going to make any money. Why should it?
But why does he cost so much, Boyd?
Yeah. So it's a great question.
I know there's dominoes falling.
Go ahead.
There's pitching dominoes already falling. Snell, Montas. Who else?
I think Montas.
We're missing a couple guys.
Yeah, they're all Kikuchi.
Yes, thank you.
2 years, $34 million. When I saw that before I went to sleep Sunday for Montas, that if I didn't see that, the Boyd price would shock me. But because of that, look, Jed has a track record of this. He overpays a lot sometimes on guys that he really thinks has a distinct quality. Sometimes he hits, sometimes he misses. Right. But I know it's a lazy thing to say, but we'll judge it after when we get to spring training, and most importantly, we'll judge it when the games start to matter. This guy needs to produce. Like I was seeing some stuff on Twitter today. Oh, well, he'll be a good swing man. There's no $14 million swing man. This guy's going to be starting every fifth day, whether we like it or not.
He's not going to be in the bullpen.
No, he needs to pitch, and he needs to pitch well. Now, maybe in Japan, the first 2 games of the year, he comes out of the pen because everyone's going to need work and guys will be shorter. But for over 162, he's going to be getting the ball. He needs to produce and he needs to pitch well. And I do believe if healthy, some of the things that he fixed. I know it sounds crazy, 33-year-old reinventing himself, but welcome to the new pitching world.
It's just a lot for a guy who projects as a 1.9 WAR player for 2025, according to FanGraphs.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I suppose this is the market, but wow. And the projection that MLB Trade Rumors had was 2 for 25. This isn't that egregious from that, but it's
the pitching market clearly. Like I thought Kikuchi was like 2 for 32. He got 3 for 63. Like these guys, clearly it's elevated. That's why I really do believe this is probably it for the Cubs in terms of free agent acquisitions with the starters.
Yeah, because Evaldi will get definitely a 3-year deal now, maybe 4.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, guys like Fried are just thrilled with these deals. I mean,
Burns is going to be 35 a year easy.
Yeah. So look, I I don't dislike it as much as others do, but this is what the Cubs have created. This until we see it play out on the field, when you come out publicly and disqualify yourself from Soto and Fried and Burns, and then your first two moves of the offseason, I'm not even counting Theis, are
from the same team.
Are Eli Morgan and Matthew Boyd, people are going to do exactly what you did at 7 a.m. And that is shoulder shrug and say, all right, whatever. And they're totally in the right by doing that. It's not until we see if we're in June and Matthew Boyd is 5-1 or 5-2 with a 2.77, and we'll go back and go, all right, Jed was onto something there, but we're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt because they haven't earned it until we see it.
And your first measuring stick, you've even mentioned this within the last couple of weeks, is Memorial Day.
Talk to me about all this stuff on Memorial Day.
And I wonder, let me count tonight how many games that is. Last year, that was about 62 or something. So I'll have to double check on that. Wow, yeah, this was the first. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, Sam, I was forgetting. The other thing I thought this morning while getting ready was, why does Carter Hawkins have so much influence on this team? But then I remembered Boyd was actually with the Tigers.
Oh,
and Hawkins was with the Guardians. So I don't
connection.
need to go down my conspiracies there.
Yeah, and I actually, after watching the Bears press conference today, I have respect for the Cubs organizational hierarchy because at least it makes sense. Carter's the GM. He reports to Jed. Jed's the president of baseball ops who actually knows baseball, and then he goes to Tom. But I just look, guys, every single Friday for like the last 5 Fridays, I've tried to warn you that this type of stuff's coming. And so, we'll see. Maybe they make a big splash with a trade, but
no, I was actually sketching out my predictions for next week last night late. And I had all basically 1-year deals for the Cubs. 1 or 2-year deals.
So they just signed Boyd in free agency.
Yeah.
We expect them to make a trade for a pitcher. That's number 2. We expect them to
I don't expect that.
Okay, I do.
Yeah.
I don't want Javier Assad. Okay. I'm whatever. 3, a catcher, another catcher. 4, bullpen acquisitions, maybe 2 of them, and then 5, maybe like a utility bat,
a bench player. Yeah.
So basically, this was like 20% of the offseason. So.
Right. No, I had the Cubs signing 5 players next week.
Well, here's one.
Coming up next, I want to review and emphasize our what I would call a gut feeling on this. Stay tuned.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. The Bears open at 5.5-point underdogs over, I believe, Santa Clara is where the 49ers play those games now. I don't really know about this game. McCaffrey's hurt. It feels like kind of if the Bears win, everyone's going to want to hire Thomas Brown. And
based on one win?
Well, you just know how it goes. Don't tell me if they don't go out there and beat San Francisco, that won't be the story of the talk shows on Monday or Tuesday. I just lost all trust in that organization.
Right. Correct.
That sounded like counsel. But 5.5, you can get the Bears. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
So we're 30 minutes in. I just want to bring up our initial thoughts and feelings. Correct. Because you know what? They basically have been the last 2 years since we've done this show.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the Cubs can mitigate this by getting someone to pencil in between Steele and Imanaga. But if they don't do that, our initial thoughts and feelings are correct, are they not?
Well, assuming our initial thoughts,
you think he could be a number 3?
I think he has 3 upside.
Okay.
Like I think if it were to go really well,
how about we just get more certainty? Okay, no more upside, no more projections. Get someone that we could put in pen, not even pencil.
But Matt,
the number 2 or number 3 spot. Get someone that we could put in pen in the 8th or 9th inning.
But Matt, this is what we are going to have to fight with the next 2 or 3 months. We're going to say this about every acquisition. They said no to Juan Soto. Soto goes, hey Scott, anything from the Cubs? No, they're out on you. What? They don't.
Cubs.
When they did that, they told you that this is the gut feeling. This is the expectation.
Wow.
So I
didn't realize it had that heavy of ramifications. I was disappointed in that, but I thought they could still
then after
make
that
a buzz.
After
I
that
thought
they
could still create a buzz.
After that, Passan came out and said they don't want anything to do with the high major starters and Fried. Right. So what more? Like this is it. This is what we're working with. So, do we make lemons? How does that lemonade out of lemons, whatever that saying is?
Yep.
Do we do that? Or we could be absolutely in the right and just come on every day and talk about why aren't they spending more? Why aren't they doing that? But, we still have to try and win games here.
And do they actually run back the offense?
Well, it's starting to trend that way, but maybe there's a Horner deal or a Bellinger deal.
Yeah, I think the Braves might be a Bellinger suitor.
I'm higher on the vacuum situation of Matthew Boyd. If you take away everything that we've heard from the Cubs and just look at this signing, I think they got better today. I think they got better. But if this is their only free agent acquisition, in terms of starters, this was the one. Like, did they get enough better? The rest of the offseason will determine that.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs.
I didn't even speak English. Enough better.
20 to 30 minutes. So we'll give you all things Cubs.
After 30 minutes, it's all out for me.
A laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. Yeah, I did think we were going to go a little bit longer. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
See ya.